Shalom, Israel. We're the Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. Started out at 1 West 125th Street, Harlem, New York, since 1969, under Commander General Yohana. And we are here to edify the so-called Blacks and Latino and Native American man, woman, and child, and bring them back to their heritage, teach them about their heritage and their identity. You know, we can teach them right here from this book known as the Bible. Tonight, we're going to go into talking about the Sadducees and Pharisees. You know, how they were, you know, pretty much, I mean, even though they were wicked, you know, these were wicked men, right? Going against Christ and all. You know, Christ called them serpents, you know, vipers, hypocrites, you know what I'm saying? This children of the devil, you know, called them all kinds of stuff, you know what I'm saying? Because they were wicked men. But they were influenced as well by the Greeks and Romans, you know, back in the, you know, the time of Alexander when he came on the scene, you know, when he conquered everybody and came into Jerusalem, you know, him and his men, all the way to Christ, you know, in the New Testament, you know what I'm saying? They don't, you know, they stay behind the scenes, so to speak. You know what I'm saying? Like they don't portray themselves as, you know, what they are, which is vile. You know what I'm saying? These Romans and these Greeks, they make it seem like it was just the Sadducees and, you know what I'm saying, the Pharisees, you know, going after Christ. Christ's only own people. But they were influenced by, you know, from being conquered, you know. But like I said, they were still evil men because they chose the side, and they chose the side of the heathens, which are the Romans and the Greeks, right? You know what I'm saying? But like, you know, that's why they had to take Alexander out of the Bible. You know, out of your, you know, just think about it. If, you know, you go to, you know, being raised as Christians, you know, or Catholics or what have you, you know, majority of us were, you know what I'm saying, like Blacks, Latino, Native Americans, right? You know what I'm saying? Just imagine reading about Alexander, what he did, what his men did, especially in the Maccabees, the book of Maccabees, you know, Maccabees, 1 Maccabees and 2nd Maccabees, right? You know what I'm saying? They did some heinous things, you know, to our people. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, they will have to, you know, they took 14 books out of the Bible, you know, and put it in the Apocrypha, which means hidden in Greek. But mainly they wanted to take that history out, you know what I'm saying, of Alexander, because they call him the Great, you know what I'm saying, because it's their own kind, you know, it's white man, you know, Caucasians, you know what I'm saying? Europeans, they gonna, you know, glorify themselves, you know what I'm saying? He go down, you can, you know, here it is, you can tell, you know, they can tell you exactly the rock Alexander wrote his poetry on, you know what I'm saying, back in those days. You know what I'm saying? He, you know, he was what, 300 years before Christ? You know what I'm saying? I mean, look, they can't even tell us exactly where we came from. You know, our history, you know, I'm talking about the Black, Latino, Native Americans, what have you. You know what I'm saying? Especially the tribe of Judah. You know what I'm saying? We started in the 1700s. You know what I'm saying? Basically, you know, we come from somewhere in West Africa, you know, but yet they can tell you exactly where Alexander the Greek came, you know, wrote his poetry at. You know what I'm saying? Which is bogus, right? But of course, you know, like I said, they have to take him out of the Bible. You know, he's even in the Bible, but he's not known as Alexander. He's known as the rough goat and the leopard or something like that, right? In Daniel's 7, and Daniel's chapter 7 and chapter 8, I believe it is, right? In book of Daniel's. But you know, like you got to think about it, like who gave, you know, Blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, you know, Christianity? White people. You know what I'm saying? Who gave us Catholicism? White people. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, of course, they're going to cover up their role that they played in this book. You know, bottom line, they're going to take scriptures out, like I said, and they put it in the Apocrypha. And now you got Christians today, especially, you know, our people, pastors, you know, our so-called leaders and whatnot, you know what I'm saying? They talk about how, oh, the Apocrypha, you know, oh, we don't condone that, you know, we don't read that or what have you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're a slave. You have no say so in this fight. You know what I'm saying? You let the real men of the Lord, Lord, do to fight this battle, you know what I'm saying, and to fight this beast, you know what I'm saying, from the ISUPK, Israelite School of Universal Practical Knowledge. We're going to stand on our 2 feet, you know what I'm saying, and fight this beast, you know what I'm saying, and not physical, but mental, you know what I'm saying, because it says vengeance is of the Most High, right? But, so like I said, they're going to sugarcoat they role that they played in this book, especially during the time of Christ. It was the Romans that, pretty much crucified him. That was their way of, that was their custom of unaliving people, you know what I'm saying, torturing people, putting them on a cross. You know what I'm saying? That had nothing to do with no Israelites, but, they even desensitize us with movies. You have, like, let's say in the movies, a biblical movie or whatever, like, the good guy is a white guy, the bad guy is a white guy, you know what I'm saying? So we are not, as far as our people, you know what I'm saying, Blacks, Latino, Native Americans, we are not, on a subconscious level, even, on a conscious level, what have you. We're not really emotionally connected to that. We're just looking at it as entertainment. You know what I'm saying? Unless you a coon ass nigga, you over there really crying, a Passion of the Christ or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, it was somewhat, it could be a good movie or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But just think about how, if it was really, if it showed Christ, Yahushua Mashiach, you know what I'm saying, as a any other tribe, a Jew, we know he's from the tribe of Judah, but any tribe, you know what I'm saying, like Latino tribe or what have you. You know what I'm saying? You see Romans just torturing them. You know what I'm saying? Like doing what they do, and to his people. You constantly see that. You know what I'm saying? You can't, but like I said, they depict their own characters, so therefore we don't really trip off of it. But if we saw that, and they're not going to show nothing like that, them torturing us, you know what I'm saying? Like back in the biblical days and stuff like that, we will view them, differently, you know what I'm saying? Big time. You know what I'm saying? Like as far as, and I'm speaking for Christians, you know what I'm saying? Because, they full of that Stockholm syndrome, but they're not going to show their vile, cruel attributes. You know what I'm saying? The white man is, you know what I'm saying, who is biblically Esau in this book. All you got to do is read about it, go to Obadiah, and just, look at his attributes, look at, his characteristics. It's right there, but you could stay in denial. You can be in denial all you want, but this prophecy that the Most High talked about, you know what I'm saying, that these, the prophets speak about, you know what I'm saying, it's going to happen, you know what I'm saying, and it's, things has happened, what have you, you know what I'm saying, you can't do anything about it, it's gonna go down no matter what. But tonight, like I said, we're gonna go into, certain scriptures here and there, and point out and connect the dots, you know what I'm saying, on certain accounts, that went on in the Bible with the Pharisees and, and the Greeks and the Romans and, the civilians, whatever, you know what I'm saying? And who else played a role in this, defiling the Most High's temple, you know what I'm saying? Defiling his people, and that's their main agenda. Bottom line, that's their main agenda, and we got to see this pattern. You know what I'm saying, Israel? As far as the Christians out there, our Latino brothers and sisters out there, caught up in Catholicism and Christianity and whatnot. It's high time to wake up out of this mess. Stop looking at your oppressor like they God. You know what I'm saying? But we're going to start in the book of Luke, chapter 1. Chapter 167. This is the book of Luke, chapter 167. Now, this is Zacharias, right? Zacharias is he's John the Baptist's father. Now, this is a prayer that John the Baptist, Zacharias has said. You know what I'm saying? This is before Christ was born. You know what I'm saying? He said this before Christ was born. You know what I'm saying? So let's listen to what he says right here. It's this is Luke chapter 1 and 67. And his father Zacharias was filled with the Holy Spirit and prophesied, saying, 68, blessed be the Lord God of Israel, for he hath visited and redeemed his people. Verse 69, and hath raised up an horn of salvation for us in the house of his servant David, talking about Christ. Verse 70, as he spake by the mouth of his holy prophets, which have been since the world began. Verse 71, that we should be saved from our enemies and from the hand of all that hate us. This is what he's saying back during, and he's under Roman rule at this time. You know what I'm saying? He's praying about being saved from his enemies. You know what I'm saying? And everyone that hates us. You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, this has been going on from beginning of time. Their main agenda is to destroy Israel. You know what I'm saying? And you got these people out here, and they still out here today. And they did just that, and they're doing just that, destroying our people. You know? But just recognize that. No, just take note of that. You know what I'm saying? He said from our enemies, you know, because this is what we're talking about, our enemies, and from the hand of all that hate us. You know what I'm saying? Because there's more than one people that hate us. You know, just from Romans and the Greeks, that, you know, Esau, aka the white man, the devil that the Bible speak of, they're not the only ones that hate us. All these other nations hate us as well. You know what I'm saying? Bottom line. And they have from beginning of time. Verse 72, to perform the mercy promised to our fathers and to remember his holy covenant. He said our fathers. He didn't say everybody. He said our fathers. You know what I'm saying? And who's the only ones that got the covenant was Israel. Nobody else. You know what I'm saying? There's no such thing, you know, spiritual Israel. You know what I'm saying? Or these other nations being grafted in, you know. Verse 73, the oath which he sware to our father Abraham. He said, our father Abraham. 74, that he would grant unto us that we, being delivered out of the hand of our enemies, might serve him without fear. Serve him without fear. Because why? When we were amongst other nations, we could not serve the Most High, you know what I'm saying, the way we wanted to, because they always try to come in and disrupt what we were doing, try to change our laws, statutes, and commandments. You know what I'm saying? Our enemies did that, you know, and he said he wanted to, you know, serve him without fear, you know, because they came in, you know, if we, you know, there was times, we're going to get into it though. We're going to get into it, you know what I'm saying? But 75, in holiness and righteousness before him all the days of our life. You know what I'm saying? That's what Zechariah said. That was his prayer right there. That's what he prophesied right there. You know what I'm saying? Talking about his enemies, you know, all that hate us. You know, we have to put emphasis on that, right? And, you know, let's go to John, book of John. Now, let's point out something that the Pharisees and the Sadducees said right here. You know, the so-called leaders of Israel at this time. You know, this is when now Christ is on the scene. You know what I'm saying? He's on the scene right here. Let's see. This is the book of John, chapter 11, starting at 45. Then many of the Jews which came to Mary and had seen the things which Yahushua did, believed on him. Okay. You know, he was doing miracles, and they went to Mary to tell her what he did, right? You know what I'm saying? All the miracles he was doing. But some of them went their ways to the Pharisees and told them what things Yahushua had done. Now, some of them were people that wanted to live, you know, under the Roman rule, under the Greek rule. You know what I'm saying? They wanted to be Gentiles, you know, do the heathenistic things. You know what I'm saying? They didn't want to abide by these laws, statutes, and commandments. You know what I'm saying? So they went to the Pharisees to tell them, hey, this is what he's doing. You know what I'm saying? So now, verse 47, then gathered the chief priests and the Pharisees a council and said, what do we? For this man doeth many miracles. They said, man, what are we going to do? Man, this dude's doing many miracles and stuff like that. And watch why they said this. 48, If we let him thus alone, all men will believe on him, and the Romans shall come and take away both our place and nation. You know what I'm saying? So the Romans, like I said, they were under rule. The province was under the Romans, right? You know what I'm saying? They were ruling at this time. You know, so they gave them, they gave them some little rope. You know what I'm saying? They say, all right, y'all keep y'all people in line, basically. You know what I'm saying? The Pharisees, keep your people in line. Y'all can do this, you can do this, and you can do that. And these Romans, these Pharisees said, hey man, if we leave this man alone, you know what I'm saying? They're gonna take our leadership, basically. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't want Christ. Christ came back to what? To save get the lost sheep of the house of Israel and bring them back and let them know they could repent. You know what I'm saying? And come back to these laws, statutes, and commandments. Because at this time they were being Hellenized. They were Hellenized. You know what I'm saying? Doing what the Greeks and the Romans are doing. You know. So the Pharisees had a problem with that. You know what I'm saying? So now 49. And one of them named Caiaphas, being the high priest, that same year said unto them, ye know nothing at all. 50, verse 50. Nor consider that it is expedient for us that one man should die for the people, and that the whole nation perish not. And why is this? Because we're going to find out, like, the Greeks, the Romans, they didn't want us to practice our customs, you know what I'm saying, to keep the law, statutes, and commandments, or else we will die. You know what I'm saying? This is what they're saying right now. Like, let Christ die, you know what I'm saying? Unless, or if not, the whole nation is going to die, because he raising them up to start, you know what I'm saying, speaking, following the law, statutes, and commandments, So 51, and this spake he, not of himself, but being high priest that year, he prophesied that Yahushua should die for that nation. You know what I'm saying? These some dudes, these some wicked men that chose a side, and they chose the side of the Romans. That's all it was. That's all it is. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, this has been going on from beginning of time, since Alexander and his men rose up, and their army went out there and started conquering things. They came into Jerusalem, you know what I'm saying, and did what they did. And we're going to read about that later on, But these men right here, these Pharisees right here, they chose a side, the Pharisees and Sadducees. It wasn't, let's say if the Greeks never came, the Romans never came, you know what I'm saying, and whatnot. These men wouldn't have been after Christ like that. You know what I'm saying? They wouldn't, talking about this. They were influenced by other nations. You know what I'm saying? They, like I said, they chose a side, But let's go to Acts chapter 7. Salakia, Acts 6. Let's go to Acts chapter 6. Acts chapter 6. All right, now Christ is, he got crucified. Now you still got disciples, right, carrying on his torch, and you got one disciple named Stephen. All right, and you can read about him in 6 and 7, I believe. 6 and 7. Stephen, of course, he's not really talked about a lot. You know what I'm saying? What have you? But watch this man right here. This disciple right here. He's gonna battle. He's gonna battle these people. We're gonna find out what these people are. All right, slide. What do we say? Book of Acts, chapter 6, starting at 7. And the word of God increased, and the number of the disciples multiplied in Jerusalem greatly, and a great company of the priests were obedient to the faith. So you still have people out there. The priests were still, they were obedient. You had your Sadducees and Pharisees being wicked, but you still had the disciples out here, and certain, the civilians. They still, doing the law, statutes, and commandments, living righteously, living upright. You know what I'm saying? Because they feared the Lord. These prophecies and these Pharisees and Sadducees, they feared man. These people right here, they feared the Lord, and Stephen as well, right? You know what I'm saying? Verse 8. And Stephen, full of the faith and power, did great wonders and miracles among the people. Verse 9. Then there arose certain of the synagogue, which is called the synagogue of the Libertines, and Cyrenians, and Alexandrians, and of the Cilicia and of Asia, disputing with Stephen. Now we got to figure out who these Libertines are. You know what I'm saying? These Libertines and Cyrenians and Alexandrians, right? This is what the Libertines are. You know what I'm saying? The term Libertines refers to Jews who were enslaved by the Romans and later freed. The Romans, most notably Pompey, after his conquest of Judea in 63 BC, captured and enslaved many Jews. After being enslaved, these individuals gained their freedom and became known as libertines or freed men. And a group of them is mentioned in the New Testament as having a synagogue in Jerusalem. Now, that they're saying this is, that definition right there is freed men, right? But libertines as well as people that are, had no morals, basically. They were free thinkers, you know what I'm saying? Even sexually as well, you know what I'm saying? They didn't, as you can see, they were obviously groomed by the Romans. And they ended up having a synagogue and everything like that. And they rolled with the Pharisees, but they probably were Pharisees, Sadducees. They just called these fools libertines because they were enslaved by the Romans. But the Romans were very influential towards these cats right here. You know what I'm saying? But the Cyrenians, they were Jews from North Africa. Okay. Libya or somewhere like that. You know what I'm saying? That's what the Cyrenians were, and the Alexandrians were Jews from Egypt. Remember how Alexander conquered Egypt, and they have a place, he has a place over there called Alexandria. You know what I'm saying? That's where they were from. And all these men right here were going against Stephen. Okay. Because they were on what? They were on Roman side. They were on the Greek side. They picked a side, and they picked man's side, the Esau side, the white man, the so-called white man, you know what I'm saying? The devil that the Bible speak of, right? You know what I'm saying? So that's who the Libertines and the Cyrenians and the Alexandrians are. You know what I'm saying? So now, verse 10. And they were not able to resist the wisdom and the spirit by which he spake. Verse 11. Then they suborned men, which said, we have heard him speak blasphemous words against Moses and against God. You know what I'm saying? Suborn is they paid men to speak lies against him, against Stephen. Verse 12. And they stirred up the people and the elders and the scribes, and came upon him and caught him and brought him to the council. Who's at the council? The Pharisees and Sadducees. Verse 13. And set up false witnesses, which said, this man ceaseth not to speak blasphemous words against this holy place and the law. This is what they said, their law, the man's law, not Moses' law. You know what I'm saying? Not Yahweh's law, not Christ, the Most High's law. You know what I'm saying? But their law. Verse 14. For we have heard him say that this Yahweh of Nazareth shall destroy this place and shall change the customs which Moses delivered us. You know what I'm saying? They don't like to hear that. You see, they just unalive Yahweh. They just had him crucified. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to hear that because why? Because they're in a good place right now. You know what I'm saying? They live in fat. You know what I'm saying? They got protection from the Romans, from Greeks or whoever, you know what I'm saying? Esau, all them, verse 15. And all that sat in the council looking steadfast on him, on Stephen, saw his face as it had been the face of an angel. All right. So, Stephen, he went in there, you know what I'm saying? He was disputing against these cats, and they couldn't do nothing with him. You know what I'm saying? Because he was so wise, and he had that spirit, he had that Holy Spirit on him. You know what I'm saying? Doing this thing. Now, check this out. Let's go to Acts, chapter 7. Stay right there. You know what I'm saying? Chapter 7. Now, they brought him in front of the council, right? Council. And he says a speech. Stephen's he's gonna come out and say a speech. And he talks about, we're not gonna read the whole thing. It's pretty long. I'm just gonna breeze through it real quick. Just some key points, and then we're gonna get to we're gonna start at 37. We're gonna start at 37, but real quick, I just want to, he tells them, this is what he tells them, right? You know what I'm saying? Then said the high priest, are these things so? You know what I'm saying? Is he really teaching this stuff, about Moses, whatever, about Christ and everything like that, you know what I'm saying? So he says, the God of glory appeared unto Abraham. So he starts with Abraham. You know what I'm saying? He talks about Abraham. And they all know this. They all know these scriptures. You know what I'm saying? And he told Abraham to get away from get thee out of his kindred, from his father's house. Why? Because they were worshiping other gods back then. You know what I'm saying? That's what they were doing, right? And then he says, you know what I'm saying? He say Abraham's gonna have a seed, which he was talking about Isaac. You know what I'm saying? They're gonna go to Isaac's gonna have Israel. You know what I'm saying? Jacob, and Jacob's gonna have, Jacob's name gonna turn into Israel. He's gonna be the father of 12 patriarchs, what have you. And then they took Joseph and put Joseph into slavery. This is everything he's talking about right here. You know what I'm saying? To put Joseph into slavery. And then Joseph, he rides over there in Egypt and everything like that, sends for Jacob, you know what I'm saying, and his brothers and everything like that. And then they get put in captivity, what have you. And then Moses arrives, you know what I'm saying, and was born, whatever, and talks about how he was raised by Pharaoh's daughter, whatnot, and all these things, right? You know what I'm saying? So he's telling them all this whole report, you know what I'm saying? This is what he's saying. But now this is where he's getting to right here. You know what I'm saying? This is what he want to get to. Because he about to do him in right here. This is Acts chapter 7 and 37, right? This is Moses which said unto the children of Israel, a prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear. You know what I'm saying? He's referring to Deuteronomy 18:18, when the Most High told Moses, hey, I'm gonna raise up a prophet just like you. You know what I'm saying? I will require of y'all to listen to him and stuff, what have you. I'm paraphrasing. You know what I'm saying? So, and they know this. They know all this stuff. You know what I'm saying? They just listen to him speak. Verse 38. This is he that was in the church in the wilderness with the angel which spake to him in the Mount Sinai, and with our fathers, who received the lively oracles to give unto us. Verse 39, to whom our fathers would not obey, but thrust him from them, and in their hearts turned back again into Egypt. Basically, what it say, what the scriptures say, a dog go back to their vomit. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what these men want to do. They want to go straight back to Egypt. You know what I'm saying? Complaining to Moses, right? And verse 40, saying unto Aaron, make us gods to go before us. For as for this Moses, which brought us out of the land of Egypt, we wot not what is become of him. They don't know what happened to him, right? You know what I'm saying? So they want to make gods and stuff like that so they can worship, just like they learned the customs of the Egyptians, Verse 42, then God turned and gave them up to worship the host of heaven, as it is written in the book of the prophets. O ye house of Israel, have ye offered to me slain beasts and sacrifices by the space of 40 years in the wilderness. Verse 43, yea, ye took up the tabernacles of Molech and the star of your God, Remphan, figures which he made to worship them, and I will carry you a way beyond Babylon. This he telling them all this. Let's go. We're gonna skip to 51, verse 51. Ye stiff-necked and this is what he's telling them. Now he's telling them. He told them about Moses, Abraham, Moses, Joseph, what have you from the beginning, which they all knew about. Now he's gonna tell them this. 51. Ye stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, ye do always resist the Holy Spirit, as your fathers did. So do ye. 52. Which of the prophets have not your fathers persecuted? And they have slain them which showed before of the coming of the just one, of whom ye have been not now the betrayers and murderers. Talking about Christ. You know what I'm saying? 53. Who have received the law by the disposition of angels and have not kept it. 54. When they heard these things, they were cut to the heart, and they gnashed on him with their teeth. You know what I'm saying? He straight cut them. They were cut to the heart. You know what I'm saying? Because they knew exactly who Christ was. They knew exactly who Christ was because they knew about the prophets. You know what I'm saying? About the prophets way before them. About Moses, about what they knew all this. Look, Stephen even knew, and he was a disciple, right? He was the disciple of Christ. They all knew about these scriptures. They didn't forget about these scriptures. You know what I'm saying? And they knew, and that's why they were upset because they did just that. They knew who Christ was, But and let's go and see. Let's go and see with in John real quick. Watch this. John chapter 3. This is what? Nicodemus, right? You know what I'm saying? We're going to read about Nicodemus coming to Christ. And watch what he says. Listen to what he says, right? And Nicodemus also was a Pharisee, right? The leader of Israel, at this time. Verse 1. Slakia, this the book of John, chapter 3, verse 1. There was a man of the Pharisees named Nicodemus, a ruler of the Jews. Verse 2. The same came to Yahushua by night. He came by night because, he was sneaking over there because, all of them wasn't on board. You know what I'm saying? Hey, Nicodemus wanted to know. He wanted to talk to the man. He knew he was upright. You know what I'm saying? He knew he was righteous. You know what I'm saying? And said unto him, Rabbi, we know that thou art a teacher come from God. He said, we know. He said, we know. So they knew. They all knew. They knew. They were just being evil. That's all it was. They were just being evil and they chose a side. You know what I'm saying? Because they were being persecuted. They were under the rule of the Romans. Like I said, the Romans aren't going to put they ain't going to put their role in here like that. You know what I'm saying? They're going to make it seem like it was, Jews, Israel fighting against Israel, against Christ or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? But let's go to Acts. Let's go to the book of Acts right quick. Let's go to Acts. Jump to Acts right quick. Now, remember, we just went over Stephen and what happened to him. And of course, they unalived Stephen. They unalived Stephen. That's what happened. And check this out now in Acts chapter 8. Now, this is Saul, who we all know became Paul. You know what I'm saying? He became Apostle Paul, right? But he also crucified Israelites, he wasn't necessarily, he was rolling with the Romans. He wasn't in the military, I don't believe, you know what I'm saying? But he was up there. He rolled with the Romans and, the Sadducees, Pharisees and whatnot. He was just doing, he was an unaliver, you know what I'm saying? This is a book of Acts, chapter 8, verse 1. And Saul was consenting unto his death, talking about Stephen's death. He consented unto his death, right? And at that time, there was a great persecution against the church. Now, it says church. If you look in the Old Testament, you don't see church. You know what I'm saying? This is Christianity speaking right here. Against Israelites. That's what it was against. Against Israel, a righteous Israelites of the Lord. You know what I'm saying? Still practicing their law, statutes, and commandments. Abiding by that law, statutes, and commandments. Not the church. This is when when they twisted it with that church thing. This is the New Testament. Church. They would say Christianity and stuff like that, what have you. You know what I'm saying? But this is the church is Israel. So against the church, which was at Jerusalem, against Israel, which was in Jerusalem. And they were all scattered abroad throughout the regions of Judea and Samaria, except the apostles. And devout men carried Stephen to his burial and made great lamentation over him. Verse 3. As for Saul, he made havoc of the church of the Israelites, entering into every house and hailing men and women, committed them to prison. You know, he went into the houses where whoever were still, you know, worshiping the law, statutes, and commandments, doing the law, statutes, and commandments. Saul was going in there, bringing havoc. You know what I'm saying? Throwing them into prisons and everything like that. So let's go to 9. Let's jump to 9. Acts chapter 9. Now check this out. Now, you know, Saul still before Saul's conversion, before Yahushua comes to him in a vision and changes his name to Paul, you know what I'm saying? This is what he said right here. This is Acts chapter 9, verse 1. And Saul, yet breathing out threatenings and slaughter against the disciples of the Lord, went unto the high priest, verse 2, and desired of him letters to Damascus, to the synagogues, that if he found any of this way, any of the ways that the Israelites are doing, you know, still following these laws, statutes, and commandments, whether they were men or women, he might bring them bound unto Jerusalem. All right. So he went to Damascus. He wanted a letter. He wanted to take a letter to Damascus. You know, at that time, now we gotta look and see Slucky, who was ruling Damascus at that time. You know, see, we don't even get into depth with this type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? We just read, you know, what's on the surface, right? But the letters that were being sent to Damascus, it was King Aretas, something like that, right? You know what I'm saying? Aretas the fourth. He had rule over Damascus at that time. He had control over Damascus at that time. You know what I'm saying? Like, he was cool with the Romans. And this dude, he was actually an Arab. You know what I'm saying? From the tribe of Ishmael. We know Ishmael, you know, they became known as the Arabs later on. You know what I'm saying? Abraham's first son, you know, Ishmael. This is what he was, they were called Nabateans at this time. You know what I'm saying? They were an Arab tribe. They were Ishmael's tribe, you know, and he was under General, I think it's Tiberius at this time. Tiberius or something like that, you know what I'm saying, the Roman governor, the Roman emperor at this time. And as a matter of fact, this is how he was the reason why Paul was able to escape. You could find him in 2 Corinthians 11, verse 32. This is where it talks about him. You could find him there. And Paul was able to escape in a basket. He was let down because at that time, Aretas, I don't know how to pronounce his name, was at odds with the Romans at that time. So they were, you know, disputing whatever, and Paul was able to escape. You can find that, like I said, in 2 Corinthians 11 and 32. You know what I'm saying? But you see, remember when, let's go back to Zacharias. He said, those that hate us, protect us from our enemies so we can worship you in peace, basically. You know what I'm saying? From those that hate us. See, the other nations had a hand in this as well. It wasn't just the Romans, you know, and the Greeks. You know, you have Arabs as well. You know what I'm saying? Like, you can go to, as a matter of fact, let's go there right quick. Let's go to the book of Psalms. The book of Psalms in 83. Psalms 83. I mean, it tells you right here in Psalms 83. You know what I'm saying? This is the book of Psalms, chapter 83, and we're going to start at verse 1. Keep not thou silence, O God. Hold not thy peace, and be not still, O God. Verse 2. For lo, thy enemies make a tumult, and they that hate thee have lifted up the head. Verse 3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people, and consulted against thy hidden ones. You talk about Israel. Verse 4. They have said, come, and let us cut them off from being a nation, that the name of Israel may be no more in remembrance. Verse 5, for they have consulted together with one consent. They are confederate against thee. And then he goes on in and start naming them. The tabernacles of Edom. Edom is a so-called white man. The Romans, the Greeks, and the Ishmaelites. That was the order right there. Edom and the Ishmaelites. And like I just read in chapter Acts 9, Aretas, King Aretas the fourth, he was an Arab from the Nababean. They called them Nababeans or something like that. Let me see where that is. Some Nabateans, I believe it was Nabateans. But you see, I mean, like I said, there's nothing new under the sun. Right there, it says they are confederate against the Most High. They are confederate against Most High's people, chosen people. You know what I'm saying? The tabernacles of Edom and Ishmael. And it goes on. There's more tribes as well. More nations out there, But want to point that out, though, as far as with the Arab Romans and the Greeks and all that working with other nations. And we're going to get more of that, when we get into the book of Maccabees and whatnot. As a matter of fact, we're going to go there right now. Let's go to the book of Maccabees. Maccabees chapter 1 and 10. Starting at, this is the book of Maccabees, chapter 1, verse 10. And there came out, let me run this real quick. This is when Alexander, this is what I said, this is what I was talking about. This is in a book called the Apocrypha. It's actually, this is a 1611 King James Version Bible right here. It's in this Bible, But like I said, the Protestants back in the day, they felt they had to take this information out of the Bible. They didn't want this sitting in the Bible, because especially nowadays, like I said, if you sat there and read it, if you were a Christian, I mean, it might, take that coonism off of you. Reading about what these Alexander the Great did in Jerusalem. Him and his men did to Jerusalem. They went in there and sacrificed swine's flesh, and you will see how they put emphasis on this swine, this flesh. That's how in the Most High in Leviticus 11 says, it's an abominable thing. Don't even touch the carcass, right? Don't even eat it. You know what I'm saying? But yet, you got the Christians say, hey, they use Acts with Peter and stuff like that, seeing the visions of food coming down. They said, oh, well, that pig is clean now, just to eat that swine. You know what I'm saying? But that's another story. But let's, this is what we're talking about right here is the history of Alexander and his men. The Greeks. This is when the Greeks first came in, doing what they were doing, to Jerusalem, right? And verse 10. And there came out of them a wicked root, Antiochus, surnamed Epiphanes, son of Antiochus the king, who had been a hostage at Rome. And he reigned in the 137th year of the kingdom of the Greeks. Verse 11. In those days went there out of Israel wicked men, who persuaded many, saying, let us go and make a covenant with the heathen, that they are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. Here it is again. This is back and for 300 years before Christ, 300 to 400, one of before Christ. That's the difference between Alexander and Christ, Yahushua. You know what I'm saying? So nothing new under the sun. These men of Israel, wicked, and it says wicked men of Israel. Remember, Christ called them Pharisees, Sadducees, Pharisees, vipers, snakes. Their devil, the devil was their father, meaning the Romans, Esau. You know what I'm saying? He called them what else? Hypocrites. He was calling them all the names in the book, right? Because they were wicked men, just like they were wicked men back then. So now, verse 12. So the device pleased them well. Verse 13. Then certain of the people were so forward herein, that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. Also the civilians, they just wanted to come in there and say, hey, let's go ahead, let's be like these people, let's be heathens as well. You know what I'm saying? Verse 14. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem according to the customs of the heathen, you know, and they started doing, wickedness, exercise, and they were doing that naked as well. You know what I'm saying? That's why when you ever see the statues of the Greeks and the Romans and stuff like that, throwing the disc, all that, the javelin and all that stuff, they naked. You know what I'm saying? Because that's what, a place of exercise is a gymnasium. And that word gymnasium in the Apocrypha, Slovakia, in the Greek language means naked. You know what I'm saying? That's what gymnasium means. You know what I'm saying? So they did the custom of the heathen, because that's what they used to do, So let's go ahead and stay in the book of Maccabees, First Maccabees 1, and let's jump to 41, because we're talking about their wickedness on what they did, saying who they are. They're a vile nation, they're a vile people, vile, they're very vile, you know what I'm saying, and just brutal, you know what I'm saying. All they do is unalive people. It's in their DNA, and they're the same today, and they're and like I said, they're from the tribe of Esau, you know what I'm saying. They're tribes within tribes, they got, as far as the Irish, the Italians, the Greeks, the Rome, Germans, you know what I'm saying. They all fall into that pattern Esau, the white man, Caucasians, you know what I'm saying. The Jewish man, they're from the tribe of Amalek in here, Esau, but they're from the tribe of Amalek, but they are from Esau, This is the book of Maccabees, First Maccabees chapter 1, verse 41. Start at verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people. All right. Verse 42. And everyone should leave his laws. See how they put emphasis on the laws? Leave those laws. Mainly they targeting the chosen people, God's chosen people, because they knew about our God. They knew about our laws. You know what I'm saying? And let's see. The laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king. Verse 43. Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion and sacrificed unto his idols and profaned the Sabbath. Verse 44. For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land. Okay. Verse 45. And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifices and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days and pollute the sanctuary and the holy people. This is what they wanted to do, man. These people, you can see today, they push in that alternative lifestyle 24/7 on movies. This is all they're doing. And, we know about Sodom and Gomorrah. How we on, and that's why they put emphasis on, that's Old Testament or what have you. They make you forget about it. And they go straight to the Paul, saying Paul's writings, because they twist it up and try to say these Gentiles are other nations. No, these Gentiles are Israelites that were acting like became Gentiles, became heathens, acting like them because they were influenced by them. They were under, they were under rule with them. So they started living like Gentiles, started being wicked. You know what I'm saying? Anytime these wicked people came around, and they did it with unaliving us, torturing us. We're gonna get into that, like I said, there's nothing new under the sun. They've been doing it from the beginning of time. They've done it back in Alexander days. They did it in Christ days. You know what I'm saying? And they're doing it now. They took us far from our border, and now they're still trying to defile us. They gave us Christianity. They gave us Catholicism. Which is, and they say the laws are done away with. Why do you think? Now you see why they say the laws are done away with. You know what I'm saying? They want to live lawless because this is who these people are. They're still here today. Why you think they call Alexander the Great? What did he do great? To them, he went into Jerusalem and defiled it, him and his men. You know what I'm saying? That's what he did great. You know, he conquered Israel. Then they eventually fled out of Israel, you know, and then they put us in captivity. And now we under a whole nother sect of Edomites, you know. They still, you know, I mean, you know, who other than the president, you know, of the United States, you know, when he has something to say, who else did they shut down the whole, you know, the social media or what have you? You know what I'm saying? They shut it down for the Pope. You know, the other dude, you know what I'm saying, that over there, you know what I'm saying? He like, you know, he got power. You know what I'm saying? These men, what it say? The world is given to the hands of the wicked, right? You know what I'm saying? This dude got power just like the president, US president. You know what I'm saying? Calling shots as well. You know what I'm saying? Like he's from the same place where, you know, these Romans are from. You know, he's Roman. He's Italian. You know what I'm saying? These men are wicked. They don't believe in Christ. They don't believe in the Most High. You know what I'm saying? He's trying to be the Most High. You know? Let's go ahead and get it. Where we at? Let's see. We finish that. Yeah, change the ordinance. Well, we read that also. That's sloggy. Yeah. So 47, verse 47. Set up altars and groves and chapels and idols and sacrifice swine's flesh. Sluggy. Swine's flesh and unclean beasts. You know, they did this stuff intentionally in the Most High's holy place. You know, if you claim you're a Christian, you know what I'm saying, you love the Most High, you know, and you read about this, you know what I'm saying, you should be disgusted, you know what I'm saying, of Romans and, you know, and Alexander, you know, you should be out there trying to, you know, say, hey, why are you calling him Alexander the Great or something like that, protesting, whatever, you know what I'm saying, but y'all, you know, y'all just want to go to church on Sunday, go in there and then leave and go home and stuff like that. It's so easy. You know what I'm saying? Think God looking down at you, you know, you screaming and hollering and singing, all this stupid stuff. You know what I'm saying? He ain't listening to you. You know what I'm saying? He said, if you turn your ear from even hearing the law, even your prayer should be an abomination. You know what I'm saying? Y'all want these laws done away with, you know, bottom line. So you could do all manner of wickedness, you know. Verse 48. That they should that they should also leave their children uncircumcised and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanations. Verse 49, to the end they might forget the law and change all the ordinances. This is what these white men were doing. These vile white men were doing. You know what I'm saying? Let's put that out there. These are Caucasians. You know, we know the history. Look at what they did in slavery over here. Look at what they're doing today. You know, these are not upright men. It's far from them. You know, all they know is war. That's it. Even with the Greeks and the Romans, you know what I'm saying? You know how many civil wars they had? They had like over 70 or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Just over territory. You know what I'm saying? And fighting each other. You know, look at the Vikings. You know what I'm saying? That's all they did. Fight each other. This is all they know. So what you think they're going to do amongst the people that don't look like them? That aren't them. They're going to unalive them in the streets like they do our people today. You know what I'm saying? Bottom line, they're going to put our people in cages like they got these ICE agents out here doing today. You know, this is what they're going to do. You know, we gotta point this out. We got to talk about this stuff, man, because they are a vile people. They are not upright. They gave you Christianity. They gave you Catholics, Catholicism. You know what I'm saying? And when I'm saying that, I'm talking about the so-called Black, Latino, and Native Americans. You know what I'm saying? They gave you this religion. They forced it on you. You know what I'm saying? This is what they did to you. Let's go to chapter 5. First Maccabees chapter 5. We're gonna get in more of their little vile ways, their atrocities, you know, their atrocities that they do to people, you know, especially to the Most High's chosen people, because that's their main agenda. That's their main agenda. You know, this is the book of First Maccabees chapter 5, verse 1. Now, when the nations round about heard that the altar was built and the sanctuary renewed as before. It displeased them very much. Now, they had Judas Maccabees. At this time, we still had some fight in us. You know what I'm saying? We were still trying to fight them off, trying to, get our temple back, get Jerusalem back. We fighting amongst them. So they went in there and they rebuilt the altars and whatnot, you know what I'm saying? In the sanctuary and renewed it as before, but these other nations, not a nation, because we know the Greeks were played a role in this, right? But they had other nations with them as well. They had, like I said, in Acts, you had Aratus. You know what I'm saying? He's an Arab. He's an Ishmael. He's from another tribe, but yet he was working alongside with the Greeks, the Romans, what have you. Verse 2, wherefore they thought to destroy the generation. They were so mad, they thought to destroy the generation of Jacob that was among them. And thereupon they began to slay and destroy the people. This is because we went back in there and started rebuilding the altar and the sanctuary. That's how mad they were. They were like, man, no, hell no. We about to kill these people. You know what I'm saying? We about to kill these Israelites, God's chosen people, upright people, doing these laws, statutes, and commandments, being righteous. Now we want them to eat swine. We want them to be defiled. This is what the whole agenda was. Why you think they took this out of the Bible, the King James Bible? They had to take this mess out. You know what I'm saying? Bottom line, they're like, nah, we can't teach this. We got to take this. We got to destroy these people with our doctrine. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what they're doing. They're teaching your man's doctrine, as it states in Matthew 5, right? Or 15, I forgot where it is. But let's keep going. Let's get some more of this, right? You know what I'm saying? Some more of their wickedness, because it's in their DNA. That's a white DNA, man. They just wicked as can be. That's all they know. That's all they live for, right? You know what I'm saying? This is let's go to Second Maccabees. Let's go to Second Maccabees. Starting at 6. All right, and this is King Antiochus again, right? You know what I'm saying? It's still the Greeks, doing their wickedness to our people. This is Second Maccabees, chapter 6, verse 1. Not long after this, the king sent an old man from Athens to compel the Jews to depart from the laws of their fathers. Now, this old man from Athens, he was obviously a Jew himself. You know what I'm saying? He was just living over there in Greece. You know what I'm saying? Because they probably felt, oh man, you could go talk to them. They're your people, so go ahead and compel them to depart from their laws, right? And not to live after the laws of God. Once again, they're putting emphasis. Don't be living like God. We want you to live. We want to live wicked. You know what I'm saying? We want you to do abominable things. This is what they do. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, why you think you got they push that a boy to be a girl and a girl to be a boy. That's wickedness. You know what I'm saying? And if you think that's right, man, you abominable yourself, man. You just wicked. Bottom line, because that's straight confusion. Straight confusion. That's all it is, man. This world is upside down. Bottom freaking line. Just nothing but madness out here. The Christian church ain't doing nothing about it. You would think they'd be, marching all over the place, all these churches all over this country. You know what I'm saying? You think they'd be, well, man, yeah, right, because they with it. Come as you are. You know what I'm saying? You got a alternative lifestyle pastor. You know what I'm saying? Up there on the pulpit, just terrible, man. But where we at? Verse 2. And to pollute also the temple of Jerusalem, and to call it the temple of Jupiter. Let's go ahead and skip to verse 3. The coming in of this mischief was sore and grievous to the people. Verse 4. For the temple was filled with riot and reveling by the Gentiles, who dallied with harlots and had to do with women with the circuit of the holy places. And besides that, brought in things that were not lawful. Verse 5. The altar also was filled with profane things, which the law forbiddeth. Verse 6. Neither was it lawful for a man to keep Sabbath days or ancient fasts, or to profess himself at all to be a Jew. And what happened if you did? They're unalive. This is what they were doing. You know, they say the Greek influence, you know, it carried for centuries. You know what I'm saying? This is what they do. They went and conquered people, and they put their influence on them. And they was for centuries. Their influence was for centuries. Not just a month or two or a year or two or what have you, for centuries. You know what I'm saying? This is what these evil people did. You know, let's go to what was that? Was that the end of that? Let's go to verse 8. Moreover, verse 8. Moreover, there went out a decree to the neighbor cities of the heathen. This is a law to the neighbor cities of the heathen, right? You know, other heathens. By the suggestion of Ptolemy against the Jews, that they should observe the same fashions and be partakers of their sacrifices. Verse 9, and whosoever would not conform themselves to the manners of the Gentiles should be put to death. Then might a man have seen the present misery. Verse 10, for there were two women brought who had circumcised their children. Remember, they didn't want the children to even be circumcised anymore. Remember, the Most High gave Abraham that law. He said, circumcise your children within 8 days or what have you. You know what I'm saying? That was from the Most High, the Father who these Christians claim they love. You know what I'm saying? But because they circumcised their children, look what happened. Whom then they had openly led round about the city. They took them around the city, you know what I'm saying, to make a example out of them, right? The babies hanging at their breasts. They were still breastfeeding, you know, they still had their babies and stuff like that. That's how young they were. They cast them down headlong from the wall. They threw them off with their babies. This is how treacherous they was, because they were doing what the Most High told them to do. They were circumcised. They were keeping the law, statutes, and commandments. And these evil, wicked men, white men, you know what I'm saying, cast these women off a wall. Now, verse 11, and others that had run together into caves nearby. They went into the caves to do what? To keep the Sabbath day secretly. This is what they did. But you have, who changed Constantine? You know what I'm saying? The emperor of Rome, whatever, or governor of Rome. Whatever. I think it was emperor in 4th century. He changed the Sabbath to Sunday. And now you got Christians up in there worshiping on Sunday. You better learn your history. All this knowledge is out here nowadays. You know what I'm saying? Better learn that history. You know, why you up in that church on Sunday. You know what I'm saying? The Sabbath day, that's God's holy day, the 7th day of the week. You know, not the first day of the week. You know, that was changed by the Romans, Constantine to be exact, in the 4th century. You know, but they had to run into caves to hide, to worship, because if they got caught, what happened? You know what happened? You get unalive by wicked, evil white men, Romans, the Greeks, and so on and so forth. You know what I'm saying? Secretly being discovered by Philip, were all burnt together. They burnt them together, right? Because they made a conscience to help themselves for the hour of the most sacred day. And they were burnt. They were burnt because they kept the holy day, sacred day. You know what I'm saying? This is what happened, you know, with these being under these vile people. You know, why you think that's why now you can put 2 and 2 together. Why you think they so vile now? Why you think they can shoot at us when we holding our infants, our children, or even unalive and shooting at our children? You know what I'm saying? Just like it ain't nothing. because it's in their DNA. They know they different from us. They know we the God's chosen people. You know what I'm saying? We are their enemies. You got to wake up and see that. Just because you got a white friend here and there and stuff like that, they got an agenda, and that's to wipe your tails out. You know what I'm saying? You Christians, wake up out there. So-called Black, Latino, Native American man. You know what I'm saying? Woman, you got to wake up out here. These people don't love you. You know, you about to go and join, you know what I'm saying? Go join them in a little Thanksgiving, you know, coming up Thursday, what have you. You know, crazy. Then worship their pagan Christian Christmas, what have you. Bring a tree into your house like some rejects. You know? Yeah, read about that in Jeremiah 10. It's right there. You know, this is God's words right here, Jeremiah 10, right? You know what I'm saying? See if you'll still, you'll read it, see if you'll still bring it. I'll bet you'll still bring that tree up in there, because it takes you to your happy place when you was a kid. You know, if if it's really for the kids to make them happy, you want you buy their asses presents every single day. You know what I'm saying? They'd be happy every day. Why you have to wait until the white man's pagan day? You know, worshiping a tree. You know, but let's go to Second Maccabees, chapter 7. Let's read about some more wickedness right here. You know what I'm saying? Starting at 8. This is chapter 7, verse 8. It came to pass also that 7 brethren with their mother were taken and compelled by the king against the law to taste swine's flesh. Here they go again. They making them taste swine's flesh. Because why? They knew swine was abomination to us. We couldn't touch that stuff. But they doing this. They mocking us, making us eat swine's flesh. You know what I'm saying? And were tormented with scourges and whips. They whipped them. They scourged them. Verse 2. But one of them that spake first said thus, what wouldest thou ask to learn of us? We are ready to die. This is what he said. Rather than to transgress the laws of our fathers. This was a man right here. This is a strong man. This was no weak Christian bowing down to these white men over here want to join hands like Martin Luther King, turn the other cheek. Nah, this was a man right here. He was willing to die for the Most High's words, for the law, statutes, and commandments. You know what I'm saying? As well as the ISUPK, the men in the ISUPK, we willing to die for this truth. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna bow down like these cowards out here, these Christians out here. You know what I'm saying? Bottom line. But let's go ahead. He said, we are ready to die rather than to transgress the laws of our fathers. Verse 3. Then the king, being enraged, commanded pans and cauldrons to be made hot. You know what I'm saying? Like the Adawan said, you know, basically like a witch. You know what I'm saying? You know, the witch have a big old pot. This is what they were doing. You know what I'm saying? They got cauldrons, big pots. You know what I'm saying? Put water in there to get it hot. You know, verse 4, which forthwith being heated, he commanded to cut out the tongue of him that spake first, and to cut off the utmost parts of his body. Being vile, you know what I'm saying? Cutting off parts of a body. The rest of his brethren and his mother looking on. Verse 5. Now, when he was thus maimed in all his members, he commanded him, being yet alive, to be brought to the fire and to be fried in a pan, even frying them in a pan. You know what I'm saying? Frying them in a pan. And as the vapor of the pan was for a good space dispersed, they exhorted one another with the mother to die manfully, saying thus, verse 6, the Lord God looketh upon us, and in truth hath comfort in us, as Moses in his song, which witnessed to their faces, declared, saying, and he shall be comforted in his servants. Verse 7. So when the first was dead after this number, they brought the second to make him a mocking stock. And when they had pulled off the skin of his head, with the hair. They asked him, wilt thou eat before thou be punished throughout every member of thy body? In verse 8, but he answered in his own language, in the Hebrew language, and said, no. Wherefore he also received the next torment in order as the former did. You know what I'm saying? He stood on his own 2 feet and said, nah, go ahead and unalive me. You know what I'm saying? That's exactly what they did. You know, and these like I said, these men, that's why they had to take this out of the Bible, out of the King James 11, King James Bible. You know what I'm saying? That you would have in your average Christian or Catholic church. You know what I'm saying? They couldn't have this up in here showing they true attributes. You know what I'm saying? They vile way, cruel ways, their Brutus ways. You know what I'm saying? These people are just wicked, man. That's all. That's in their DNA. Like I always say, it's in their DNA. They can't help themselves. They have to torture. You know what I'm saying? This is what they do. You know. I mean, they torch their own kind, even before they came over here. You know, look at, just go and watch Vikings, watch Roman movies. You know what I'm saying? Look at what they do with their slaves, what have you. Greek, sexually, man. These people are vile. You know what I'm saying? We can't even call them a people because Most High said they are no people. You know what I'm saying? In Deuteronomy, I think it was, But let's go to Matthew, the book of Matthew. Let's go to get on that, read about Christ. You know what I'm saying? Go back to Christ. 300 years later, you know what I'm saying, after this vile stuff right here, let's go back to Christ's days. And starting at verse 27. Let's see here. Now this is about about Pilate, Pontius Pilate. You know, he was known for his number one thing he's known for is crucifying Christ. You know, he was the governor for Judea, a Roman governor for Judea, right? You know what I'm saying? Pontius Pilate. We're going to read about him right here in Christ and his soldiers, Roman soldiers. And check how they are. You know, ain't nothing changed. Like I said, they sugarcoat their ways. You know what I'm saying? Their role that they played in this book. You know, they sugarcoat it. They make it seem like they had nothing to do with this stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, they desensitize us with movies because why? You know, like Passion of the Christ. You know, like I said, you seen white man crucifying a white man. You know what I'm saying? So we ain't tripping on that. We just watching the movie for entertainment. You know, but these are some vile men. You know, these Romans are vile. You know what I'm saying? You know, straight up. But let's start at verse 27. Oh yeah, and Pontius Pilate. As a matter of fact, this dude, so he's known for that, for crucifying Christ, and he lived in Caesarea, I believe that's, and he used to go to during the feast days, specifically the Passover. He will move to Jerusalem to the Passover and bring reinforcements, his military, so he can maintain order during the Passover. This, what does he have anything to do with the Most High, with the Most High's Passover? But yet he wanted to go in there and maintain order for the Most High's Passover. This is what he did too as well. You know what I'm saying? But let's go ahead and start. This is book of Matthew, chapter 27, verse 1. When the morning was come, all the chief priests and the elders of the people took counsel against Yahushua to put him to death. Verse 2. And when they had bound him, they led him away and delivered him to Pontius Pilate, the governor. We're going to skip to 15. Now, at that feast, the governor was wont to release unto the people a prisoner whom they would. Now, This is the feast that they have, and this is what this is the feast that the governor's having. Pontius Pilate is having, right? You know what I'm saying? He wants, meaning his custom. This is what he used to do with his his feast at his feast days. You know what I'm saying? Verse 16. And they had then a notable prisoner called Barabbas. Verse 17. Therefore, when they were gathered together, Pilate said unto them, whom will ye that I release unto you? Barabbas or Yahushua, which is called Christ? Now he's asking them, hey, this is what they did. Like I said, this is their custom during a feast. Whatever feast they were having, he'll release a prisoner. Okay, this is what he'll do, right? And now, they always do. They always have to have some type of cruel type of game or something, some mockery, some sport, what have you. You know what I'm saying? This is what they do. These are what these Romans do. This is what the Greeks do. This is what white men do. This is what Esau does. You know what I'm saying? They are cruel. You know what I'm saying? Verse 22. Let's jump to verse 22. Pilate saith unto them, what shall I do then with Yahushua, which is called Christ? They all say unto him, let him be crucified. Verse 23. And the governor said, why? What evil hath he done? But they cried out the more, saying, let him be crucified. See, they trying to make it seem like Pilate is cool, saying, why? What did he do? You know what I'm saying? Verse 24. When Pilate saw that he could prevail nothing, but that rather a tumult was made, he took water and washed his hands before the multitude, saying, I am innocent of the blood of this person, this just person. See ye to it. Trying to wipe his hands, wash his hands, talk about he innocent. You know what I'm saying? Of this just man. But we gonna see he ain't innocent. You know what I'm saying? Look, remember, this is his custom. This was his feast right here. You know what I'm saying? The release a prisoner, and then whatever, and then do something else to the other one, right? We about to read about it. Okay, let's jump down to 27, verse 27. Then the soldiers. Now this is whose soldiers? Whose soldiers? We're gonna get into it. Then the soldiers of the governor. This is the governor's soldiers, one that just washed his hands clean, right? He's innocent. His soldiers, though, look what the soldiers do. These are Roman soldiers. Then the soldiers of the governor took Yahushua into the common hall and gathered unto him the whole band of soldiers. Verse 28, and they stripped him and put on him a scarlet robe. You know how Esau do it. You know what I'm saying? If they hanging, a slave or whatever, you know what I'm saying? The first thing they do, you know what I'm saying? They're going to strip him, take off his clothes, you know what I'm saying? Cut his member off, cut it, give me the left nut. You know what I'm saying? This is what they do. Ain't nothing new under the sun. These are the same people. This is what they do. They have to strip you. You know what I'm saying? Take your clothes off of you. You know what I'm saying? Because they fornicators. This is what they do. Send their DNA. And so verse 29, and when they had plaited a crown of thorns, they put it upon his head and a reed in his right hand, and they bowed the knee before him and mocked him, saying, Hail, King of the Jews. This is the evil stuff. They put a crown of thorns on his head, just torturing Yahushua. This is the governor's man. Remember, men. Remember, he wiped his hands. He didn't think his men were capable of this. And of course he did. He knew what was going down. You know what I'm saying? Talking about he innocent. Yeah, right. You know what I'm saying? That's all they do is torture. Our custom, as far as what I know, you know what I'm saying? The customs of Israel, we don't torture people. You know what I'm saying? We don't get down like that. We get straight to the point. If we had to unalive you, we'd stone you to death or with the sword. You know what I'm saying? The King David would be like, fall on him. You know what I'm saying? And that's with a sword. Just unalive him just like that. We don't get a thrill off of torturing people. That's the white man. They love torturing. Just look at like castles in Europe or whatever. I bet you right now you go to a castle and there's a dungeon full of torture mechanisms. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. Just think about that. They built the castle and they say, hey, Make sure you build that room where we torture people in. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just crazy, sick people, man. You know what I'm saying? This is what they are. This is who they are. You know what I'm saying? You can read about them in Obadiah, Esau. You know? But verse 30, and they spit upon him and took the reed and smote him on the head. You know what I'm saying? They spit on him. You know, my grandma told me a story, you know, from Mississippi when they used to, you know, she used to have to walk, you know what I'm saying, to school, you know, and walk in the snow at that. You know what I'm saying? And you know who'd be driving by in a bus? White kids. And you know what they'd do? They'd be spitting on her, trying to spit on her. Ain't nothing new under the sun. These are evil, vile ass people, man. You know, bottom line. Verse 31, and after that, they had mocked him. They took the robe off from him and put his own raiment on him and led him away to crucify him. This is what they did. This is Roman soldiers. They did this. You know what I'm saying? They did this for a black man. They didn't do it, you know, like I said, they portray, you know, they depict those characters on TV, you know what I'm saying, as a white man. A white man doing that to a white man. But no, this is from the tribe of Judah. He was a so-called black man from the tribe of Judah. You know what I'm saying? They did that to our people, our leader, Yahushua Mashiach. You know what I'm saying? This is what they did to him. You know, but let me see here. As a matter of fact, hold on. Yeah, I want to bring something out. Where's that at? The pilot of the governor. Talking about the prophecy. I'm looking for a prophecy. It says something about prophecy in here. Oh, here it is. Slocky. Let's jump to 34. This is a book of Matthew, chapter 27, verse 34. They gave him vinegar to drink, mingled with gall. They even tormented him with vinegar. You know what I'm saying? Look at how cruel that is. Yeah, we're gonna give you vinegar. You know what I'm saying? Why you even give him anything at all? You know what I'm saying? Like really. You know, because he over here, you know, he's thirsty and everything like that. We ain't gonna play a trick and give him vinegar and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like this little kids, man. You know, that's what Esau is. Esau, big freaking kid, man. And when he had tasted thereof, he would not drink. Verse 35, and they crucified him and parted his garments, casting lots. Remember that. They crucified him, casting parted his garments and casting lots, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. We're gonna find out what prophet that was. We're gonna go there. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots. You know, let's go to Psalms. That's who said it right there. King David. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, all these prophets, they knew about Christ. Look at Isaiah 53. That's all about Christ. That whole thing right there is about Christ. They knew about Christ. It wasn't not told in Deuteronomy 18:18. You know what I'm saying? To Moses. They all knew about Christ. Here it is. King David was prophesying about Christ. You know what I'm saying? They all knew about Christ. And another thing I want to just say, if these Christians, you got the Christians out there, if you're watching and what have you, you know what I'm saying? Any Christians are watching and you saying, oh, Esau, can't be the white man or whatnot, you know what I'm saying? What have you, just go and look in Isaiah 63. Isaiah 63. That's Christ's second coming. He said it when he come again, he coming with a sword, right? Just like it says in Matthew 10:34. He said he ain't coming to send peace, but he's coming to a sword. He know Esau's still here because he said he gonna come. He coming for Edom in 63. Just read it. His second coming. He said he knows they still here. Like I said, Edom is a so-called white man. They still here. The ones that's ruling this. The one that it says in Job 9:24, the world is given to the hands of the wicked. Go to Genesis 27, I think it is. You know, you will live by the fatness of the earth. You will live by the sword. I'm paraphrasing. That was his blessing from Isaac. You know, Esau's blessing. You will have the fatness of the earth, and you will live by the sword. You will have the dew of heaven and stuff like that. Do not have satellites and all kinds of stuff up there, what have you. You know what I'm saying? They everywhere. You know, they everywhere. They got embassies everywhere. That's a straight prophecy right there. You know what I'm saying? Talking about we don't know who Esau is. You're right. Let's go ahead and get it right here. This prophecy that King David was talking about in the book of Matthew, chapter 27. He was talking about, you know what I'm saying, starting at 16. This is the Salaki. This is the book of Psalm, chapter 22, verse 16. And it reads, "For dogs have compassed me." He started off calling them dogs. Talking about these Roman men that did this to Christ, right? He called them dogs, just like Christ called that woman a dog. You know what I'm saying? Straight up. "The assembly of the wicked have enclosed me. They pierced my hands and my feet." Verse 17, "I may tell all my bones. They look and stare upon me." Verse 18, "They part my garments among them and cast lots upon vestures, my vestures." Did we not just read that in Matthew? Verse 19, "But be not thou far from me, O Lord, O my strength. Haste thee to help me." Verse 20, "Deliver my soul from the sword, my darling, from the power of the dog." Verse 21, "Save me from the lion's mouth, for thou hast heard me from the horns of the unicorn." Verse 22, "I will declare thy name unto my brethren." Not unto everybody, but his brethren. Who? Israelites. Lost sheep of the house of Israel. Not to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Not to spiritual Israelites. You know what I'm saying? "In the midst of the congregation will I praise thee." Verse 23, "Ye that fear the Lord, praise him. All ye the seed of Jacob, glorify him and fear him. All ye the seed of Israel." From beginning to end, man. These prophets, you know what I'm saying? The Lord, the righteous men of the Lord, this is all they talk about. This is all they talk about. Their brethren. You know what I'm saying? Save us from the enemies. You know what I'm saying? You know, people that hate us, the other nations that hate us. Israel, Jacob. This is all they talk about. They don't talk about any other nations being grafted in and stuff like that. Any other heathens, white people being grafted in, Asians being grafted in. You know what I'm saying? You in your heaven right now. You living deliciously right now. And the people that are undesired, you know what I'm saying? The lost sheep of the house of Israel, you know what I'm saying? Is the so-called Black, Latino, Native American men, woman, and child. You know what I'm saying? This is a God's chosen people right there. Y'all in your heaven. You know what I'm saying? Next world to come belongs to us. You will be serving us. You know what I'm saying? We ain't gonna be, and it's gonna be righteous. You know, we're gonna be just people, unlike y'all. You know what I'm saying? Talking about lace ourselves up by the bootstrap. You know, oh, y'all didn't know about oppression. You know what I'm saying? You don't know about the obstacles that's been in front of it. Yeah, you know, y'all just play dumb. Talking about we kill each other. Why we kill each other? You know the answer to that one? You so smart. Anyways, let's go to Psalms 25. Let's see what else King David had to say, right? You know what I'm saying? We're gonna start at verse 1. No, it's lucky, verse 14. Psalms 25, verse 14. "The secret of the Lord is within them." Slaki. "The secret of the Lord is with them that fear him, and he will show them his covenant." Verse 15. "My eyes are ever toward the Lord, for he shall pluck my feet out of the net." Verse 16. "Turn thee unto me and have mercy upon me, for I am desolate and afflicted." Verse 17. "The troubles of my heart are enlarged. O bring thou me out of my distresses." Verse 18. "Look upon mine affliction and my pain and forgive all my sins." Verse 19. "Consider my enemies for they are many, and they hate me with cruel hatred. Verse 20, oh, keep my soul and deliver me. Let me not be ashamed, for I put my trust in thee. Verse 21, let integrity and uprightness preserve me, for I wait on thee. Verse 22, redeem Israel, O God, out of all his troubles. Not redeem the white man, not redeem the Asian man, you know what I'm saying? Not redeem the East Indian man, the Arab man. Nah, he said, redeem Israel from all his troubles. You know what I'm saying? The people that are not desired. Zephaniah 2:1. Gather together, O nation not desired. Yea, gather together. You know what I'm saying? I'm paraphrasing. You know what I'm saying? Bottom line, all these other nations, they live in lavish. You know, these Johnny come latelys, they live in lavish. You know what I'm saying? How is it that you walk into any type of convenience store, any type of liquor store, you got people that can't even speak a lick of English running the mud. You know what I'm saying? What, we can't run the stores? You know, why is it can I go in there and see a Latino brother? Not to say there ain't none, there's some out there, but it's a low percentage. Everywhere you go out here, you know what I'm saying? Anywhere you go up and down California, I'm pretty sure it's all over this nation. How do they come over here and start running liquor stores, convenience store, mom and pop stores and stuff like that? How is that possible? Unaliving our kids, you know, for what was that down south years ago? You know, that the girl that got unalived by that Asian woman. You know, I think she got put on probation or something like that. You know what I'm saying? Over, you know, I mean, come on, man. It's even if she did still, what are you doing unaliving these kids, man? This is all, you know, go ahead and look at a kung fu flick. You know what I'm saying? Y'all used to be stealing chickens from each other. You know what I'm saying? Like crazy stuff, man. Crazy work. You know, unaliving our kids just for a soda pop or something. A piece of gum, piece of candy. You don't have to kill that kid for that, man. Unaliving that kid for that. You know what I'm saying? Y'all in your heaven. Crazy, man. But anyways, but yeah, you know, but no, that's about it. Wrapping it up. But yeah, so now, you know, of course, now in 70 AD, you know, we were you know, ran out. We ran out. That was the last straw, right? You know, they ran us out by General Vespasian. You know, in 70 AD, you know, we fled into the wilderness. We went into parts of Africa and, you know, wherever else. You know what I'm saying? But you know, this dude right here, his son Titus, you know, this is a quick little history, right? His son Titus, you know, went in there. When they went in, they took all the spoils of Jerusalem, right? You know what I'm saying? The menorah, whatever was in there, gold, whatever, you know. And they're today, there's it's called the Ark of Titus. It's in Rome somewhere. It's a tour attraction, right? You know what I'm saying? People go there, take pictures and everything like that. And inside that ark, it's them, the Romans, you know what I'm saying? Like walking with the menorah and stuff like that. And the Jerusalem, you know, the most high spoils from Jerusalem. You know what I'm saying? Bottom line, the gold and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? This is there to this day in Rome. If they claim they love the Most High so much, the Pope loved the Most High so much and stuff like that, why is that? They should have tore that down, right? Nah, because they know God ain't for them. That ain't their God. They know that. You know what I'm saying? They know that. That's why it's still up there. That's mockery. That's pride. That's what it is. You know, let's say the so-called Jewish man, you know, the Jewish man, you know, the fake Jew. You know what I'm saying? You know, they always screaming anti-Semitic. Anti-Semitic, you know, like little big ass kids and stuff, right? You know what I'm saying? They love the Most High so much, they will have that torn down. They will go to the Pope. They got enough money. You know, all they got to do is offer the Pope some money, maybe some little boys and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Because you know that's a pandemic with them too. You know what I'm saying? Petty PDF files, whatever you call it. You know, really, who are you trying to protect? You know what I'm saying? By censoring us or what have you with these terms and stuff like that. We can't even speak now. Who are you trying to protect? You know, oh yeah, you entertainers, you know, what you call that? Everybody in the entertainment thing, the Pope and all that stuff. You know what I'm saying? That shit is sensitive to your ears when you actually hear the word. You know, we got to say grape. You know what I'm saying? Like, really? Surely you don't care about these the people that it actually happened to. Why do I say it? Why can I say that? Because I can type in right now and look at the World Trade Center fall down. That's how we know you hypocrites. You know what I'm saying? I mean, because this shit surely ain't working because you got 10-year-olds in Cleveland, you know, a 10-year-old little girl and a 9-year-old little girl, a little boy, you know what I'm saying? SAing a 5-year-old girl. So obviously these terms aren't helping. Just let us go ahead and speak our mind. Nah, but you know, because it sounds worse when we say, yeah, that you know what they do to little boy, the Pope, and all them priests do with little boys. You know, grape. You know, all that stuff. You know, just going in on them. You know, they trying to do this shit. You know, but anyways, you know, but yeah, you know. That's it. You know, go ahead and salute it up. You know, Yahweh Shem Yahweh Shai Thumb to the brothers, and Yahweh Shemar Allah Thumb by Yahweh Shai to the sisters. All right, Shalom, Israel.